Hi, these comments are for RR, and I am Michael, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for OTC, OnlineTOEFLCourse.com. And you completed, it looks like, speaking and writing practice tests, right? And I'm going to give you feedback on both of those in this video. Now, here is a question I have always wondered, and being in the unique opportunity I have right now to evaluate your practice test and many other practice tests from other students all around the world, I have a question. Here's a question. What happens after a student completes 50 TOEFL writing practice tests? What happens to the writing? Does it get better? Does it get worse? Now, what's an interesting question, too, is what errors, what types of grammatical errors remain after developing a very high level of writing proficiency, right? So the only way I can even come close to answering this is Rodrigo. This is your 50th independent writing practice test over a period of, I think, a couple of months. So you have been working super hard at improving your writing. So that's what we're doing here, YouTubers. So let's take a look at his essay. I'm going to make every single correction that I think needs to be made here. I'm going to give it a score, and then we can see what type of writing proficiency someone has after completing 50 independent writing practice tests. You have to figure that this student has spent at least double the amount of time. Let's say it takes an hour. Maybe this person has spent more than 100 to 150 hours improving his writing. Is that motivation or is that motivation? I'm in day 10 of the COVID-19 virus, so I apologize for my cough, but this is good. This is a good day to see. So let's look at the essay. Do you agree with the following statement? In order to become financially responsible adults, children should learn to manage their own money at a young age. Use specific reasons and examples to support your answer. Okay, let me make it a little bit bigger here. So you wrote 513 words. I mean, do you have any idea how many words you've written in 50 practice tests? If each one is 500 words and you repeated this process 50 times, my goodness. That's like over more than 25,000 words that you have written just to practice and improve your writing. Wow. Is that crazy or what? Okay, so we have it, right? We're going to take a look at each paragraph. Yeah, you have written over 25,650 words. In any society, no matter how primitive, people have been struggling to obtain food to survive. Nowadays, the equivalent of food is money, since with it, people can obtain accommodation, food, amusement, and so on. Consequently, I like your use of the semicolon to join those closely related independent clauses. Money is one of the fundamental matters in human life. Lately, a young education debate has pointed out the importance of giving responsibilities to children. Okay, let's make this a noun person, not a noun thing. A young education debater has pointed out, whereas opponents may disagree, I steadfastly consider that children must take care of the small amount of money since they're young, because having money provides financial knowledge, less problems in the future. Let's change less to fewer. So fewer we use with count nouns and less we use with uncount nouns. Okay, first of all, giving money to young people allows them to investigate how to use this good. Case in point, being 12 years old, I was given $100 every month to take care of all my amusement activities and technological desires. As a result, I had to be careful with the money that I would spend in one activity to keep some money for other activities or to buy a new cell phone. Having a limited amount of money and all the power in how to use it, I decided to read a veritable number of financial books to understand how to use my money correctly. Had my father not given me this money when I was young, maybe it would not I would not have maybe such a wide knowledge about finances. Maybe put the word now there. Secondly, children managing money will have fewer. So we'll just change it to fewer. You said less. This isn't a major error here. But usually with fewer, you might say they have less homework now than they did in the past, or they have fewer homework assignments now compared to the past. So they'll have fewer financial problems in the future since they have a good idea of money distribution. To illustrate this point, starting to live with my wife, I noticed that she did not have an excellent financial situation, and she used to buy tons of shoes without taking care without saving money. However, talking with her, I learned that when she was young, she did not receive the same financial education I had. So I'm going to use what's called past perfect there. So you said she did not, and then you want to talk about something that happened before that. She did not receive the same financial education I had. So not knowing how to save money, she did not even have a budget. As a result, she was going to bankrupt our family, but since I knew how to make financial plans, I took care of her finances and saved her. This clearly demonstrated the importance of teaching children how to manage money. Third of all, learning how to manage money safely and efficiently I'm going to change this to as a child. So learning how to manage money safely and efficiently as a child would produce excellent job opportunities for young adults. For example, 8 years ago when I was in high school, I was taking an economy class and I debated with the professor about the best way to manage a budget. Consequently, professor Belota, noticing my excellent financial education, talked with me after the class finished, and recommended me to help Macy's, a small company with and I'm going to change there to its finances. This company grew up exponentially, and I received a lot of money as a result. If I had not been financially educated when I was young, maybe I would not have been hired by this company. To conclude, anchoring on my experience, and maybe put and there, and managing a budget while being young, I strongly assert that every child should take care of a small amount of money to have monetary responsibility since it generates a better education, fewer financial problems, and better jobs. Okay, we got it. So what does it mean? Now we can actually answer the question. So what happens after somebody completes 50 independent writing practice tests, right? You'll notice that I did not make a lot of corrections in terms of structure. So it means that the student understands how to organize his essay beginning with a thesis along with sharply focused topic sentences in the body paragraphs. Okay, so I'm going to put him at 4.5 out of 5. I'm going to say, yeah, I'm going to put him around 28 points. I think this is not quite 5. You know, the problems with less versus fewer. There were a few kind of unnatural type vocabulary or grammar structures in the response, right? It wasn't perfect, but it was very, very high level writing. So I'm going to put him at 4.5. Let's say 28 points out of 30. So great job on your writing. I like your use of specific supporting details for each paragraph. I like how the paragraphs are all connected to a common thesis that you state in the beginning of the introductory paragraph. I like how the thesis is not predictable. I haven't seen it like this. You use what's called a forecast type sentence here that outlines, it kind of blueprints the outline for your essay. So great job on that. So now everybody at YouTube knows, here's what happens when you write 50 different writing practice tests. Your writing gets more organized. It gets more developed, very laser focused developed. There's fewer writing errors in there. The writer has very good control over sentence structure, word choice, punctuation, and so on. So congratulations on a very, very well-written essay. I'm sure that this will score very high if you write like this during the TOEFL exam. So it was my pleasure to read your writing. Wow, good for you. Okay, let's listen to your, it looks like, I think you sent me integrated speaking task number 4, so it's a lecture. And you know what? You use my speaking and writing feedback service. This is exactly the reason I created this service where you could complete your writing and speaking practices, and then you could get some feedback to monitor your progress. Then you study specific lessons to get better, and then you send me more practice tests so you can kind of see how you're doing. And that's exactly what you have been doing, and congratulations on that. Okay, let's listen to your speaking now.
In the lecture, the professor talks about the concept of attention, which has 2 types, the active and the passive one, and provides 2 examples to further illustrate this idea. To begin with, the professor explained that in the active attention, students have to make an effort in order to pay attention. For example, teaching a biology class about frogs, if the professor starts to explain the concept and how it moves, the student will have to make an effort to pay attention, and this attention will not last long. On the other hand, in passive attention, according to the professor, students do not need to make an effort since the class is really interesting. For example, if a professor pulls out a living frog and starts to describe it while playing with it, students are going to pay attention without even making an effort.
Okay.
In the lecture,
Okay. So then, if we take a look at what you just did, so I'm going to put you right around 3. You're probably between 22 and 23 points out of 30 on this practice test, right? Okay, let's listen to it one more time.
In the lecture, the professor talks about the concept of attention, which has two types, the active and the passive one, and provides
Or maybe say which is categorized into active and passive attention.
two examples to further illustrate this idea. To begin with,
So he presents two examples to what?
has two types, the active and the passive one, and provides two examples to further illustrate this idea.
Okay, that word further. So he gives two examples to further illustrate the idea. So you didn't quite pronounce that TH sound clearly. Be careful.
To begin with, the professor explained that in the active attention, students have to make an effort in order to pay attention. For example, teaching a biology class about fraud, if the professor
Teaching about what now?
explained that in the active attention, students have to make an effort in order to pay attention. For example, teaching a biology class about
That. So are you saying the genealogy maybe?
fraud, if the professor starts
Yeah, I'm not quite sure that word you're saying there.
to explain the concept and how it moves, the student will have to make an effort to pay attention, and this attention will not last long.
Okay.
On the other hand, in passive attention, according to the professor, students do not need to make an effort since the class is really interesting.
I would say passive attention is when, or you can use a prepositional phrase. With passive attention, students don't have to blah, blah, blah. So maybe create that prepositional phrase in the beginning that mentions with and then passive attention. Then you can put your subject and your verb after that.
For example, if a professor pulls out a living frog and starts to describe it while playing with it, students are going to pay attention without even making an effort.
What's interesting, does the professor have a judgment as to which form of attention is more effective? Is it active or passive? Okay, so I think based on, I'm assuming that your response is complete and accurate. So I think there's mainly you had some language use issues. For example, with passive attention, creating that prepositional phrase that can precede the independent clause. So sometimes you connecting different parts of your sentence together, you have a few problems here and there on that. And then some problems with delivery. So, yeah, I'm going to put you probably around 21 to 22 points out of 30 on this practice test.